And then I realized I just need to custom make myself some seam covers, and those worked out great. All pop riveted again. If I had it to do over again, I would work those sealant lines with my finger and get them nice. But you know, it's just me up here. So here's my Cricut, which is non-vented, of course. So you can see the Z enclosures all along there, sealing it up, and then I had what I used was a little section of ridge vent. This is their standard 5-inch, I think, and that's how I could get my measurement rather than trying to chalk a line and figure, oh God, you know, if it's not right, it won't fit right. You just use a little section of the stuff, and that's going to give you the proper width, and you can set it and then line off where your Z enclosures go, and bang, then you just slide on your section of ridge cap over all your Z enclosures in there, and it does its job good. This is totally overlapped and everything. This was the first one I did, so it's probably not the nicest one, but you can see a lot of sealant, but there's solid pieces of metal that run up high, so you know, I sealed it. It looks kind of crazy, but it's just for wind driven rain. At first I wasn't going to seal these overlaps, or you know, 12 inches up, you know, like right there is the end of that under one, but I went ahead and sealed those. I wasn't going to seal them, but I thought about it. You can see all the ridge venting. I hope this comes out because I can hear the wind and everything and the sun. Rather than turn into the sun and the wind, I'm going to just kind of walk backwards a little. Spin it around. There's the where it empties into my rain box. And let's go down to this other side here. This is the oops. It's not too bad to walk around on. There's some pollen. If you get like dust, you probably can't see this, but there's just this light coating of pollen on it. And I wouldn't come up here when it's wet. It's totally dry now. And I come up here with soft-soled shoes, and they seem to grip good. I'm actually being kind of stupid and up here with some flip-flops on, but there's another. If I could zoom, I could show you that other lizard on that vent. All the vents came out good. Again, don't stress. I kind of stressed when the vent ended on a seam. Just take your time, cut the seam out, and use a square boot on the seam. The round boots are good when you're not on a seam, but the squares fold real nice when you're on the seams. You end up being on the seams, and luckily I had only 2 on the seams. You can see the detail. Again, that's that over top the stucco. I didn't have to cut any stucco or masonry, and I just tapped the holes and then used those tap cons, or I actually had some hurricane ones left over. Beautiful. And I did them shoot man tight, you know. I think they were calling 12 on center, and I did like 10 on center and just ran a bunch of them in there, and it's real tight. Again, a little detail there. I always made a pan when I had something underneath, and if I would fold a lip up. Let's go over there and look at that, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I was into making pans because I thought, of course, when you're at the top here, there's not as much rain as when you get down to the bottom, you know. But you can see there's a lip up there, and then all sealed, and just tons of blackjack, and then you know, lay back jacked in, and I push my panels up, and then I even use that the sealant, the urethane sealant, seal up all these areas. Some screws came through here. I wasn't stressed. It's on the underside, but there's pop rivets, and I found too, forming the corners, measuring it out, and making these making corners. You know, bend them and make yourself a set of corners with them extended out. And because at first I was doing them in place up here on the roof, and I said, doggone. So I went and took my measurements of where it ended, and I just made corners, and I could make a bunch of them on the bench. I could bring my corners all pre-made and just set them in place and snip them, to shorten them and then pop rivet them in place. Man, that was the way to go. That was the way to go. Make these corners and all that where you have your sealed ends down on the bench, and pop rivet them. Just, you know, when you bend your corner, pop rivet it down. Again, it'll be a nice structure. It'll come up here and it'll be square and it'll set just beautifully. It'll slide. You can hear me sliding. It's because of that pollen. I just can slide right off. So just got to be careful on these roofs, especially with dust and pollen and such, because it could be very slippery. This was tricky. The roof looked nothing like this when I first started. The roof, when I had shingles, came all the way down here and it was all rotted. It was a terrible, terrible interface, and so I had to re-stucco some areas and chop it off, and it came to me to kind of cut it back and make this box, and the box empties. The gutter guy gave me the idea. He says, empty it. I was going to run it down a pipe, and he says, empty it into my gutter. Those gutters, I tell you, seamless is the way to go, man. Pay the guy, get some quotes. These guys are very inexpensive, and he'll come, and he did me a great job. Real pleased with the gutters, and there's no way I could have done as good a job. And his man even took the time to put all my pieces together, and you know, and gave him a little tip for that too. So that was real nice. There's my vent that I cut in for my stove. My hood used to be non-vented, and it would just blow it back in the house, and I always wanted to get that smoke and heat out of the house, and that was a heck of a job. But I had to run some rectangular ducting, and oh my god, came across a stud. Here's another detail, just like the other cricket, you know, where we were looking at the this is now the 2-bedroom side. Again, made a pan, a lot of blackjack. This is the only place that kind of looks unprofessional, and it's taped. I could have pop riveted that, but the problem with that is there's no pan under there, so that would have put me with the path. You know, I mean, I got peeling sticks, so I'm just being like mega paranoid, but I don't know if you can see it, that pollen, that yellow tint on there, but this one came out a lot better as far as the overlap again. This is where I made those first original ones out of the pieces of ridge cap. You can see how they kind of buckled because it was just trying to pull it in, and it was nasty. Now I used these clips that come with this not core vent. This is not core vent. This is profile vent or something. You can see here is where I started, and I didn't have a lip anymore, and this was doing the first run. And I learned I wanted to put it back in a little bit, but there's my clips, and that was the way that job was made easier, was by sitting on the bench and putting my little pieces of mastic on there on each foot. So I had just come up here with clips that already had the mastic, and I just peel off the little piece of paper, and bing bang bang. And then I had a row, there's probably some pictures where I had just rows of the clips all up, and I could just roll out this ridge ventilation and then fold it over and run them in. It really does, the roof, I'm just stoked, man. Just so happy I did it. I really got no worries on leakage anymore, any of that stuff. So that's essentially it. Post any questions. Thank you. One detail I forgot to mention was on the ridge cap, how I pop riveted